Have you ever begged someone to love you and watched them look at you like a stranger? Have you ever sent a message you reread 100 times before hitting send, just to be left on scene? That feeling in your chest, like your soul just got yanked out. That's not just heartbreak, that's death and rebirth. It's the forge. And only some men come out sharper on the other side. Most break, most chase, most explain themselves into oblivion, but not you. Not if you understand this. Silence is your sword. See, the world will teach you to explain, beg, justify, be vulnerable, but that's not strength, that's surrender. That's putting your self-respect on a platter and handing it to someone who already made their choice. You think she didn't know it would hurt you? You think walking away was a mistake? Nah, she made a decision, and now you have to make yours. Stop talking, stop reacting, stop trying to correct her perception of you. Because here's the brutal truth. The more you explain, the less she respects you. Silence is power. It's control. It's the only language the emotionally detached understand. It's the language of the Stoic. And if you master it, if you commit to the silence, you will feel yourself becoming dangerous again. Not violent, not reckless, composed. A man who doesn't flinch, who doesn't chase, who doesn't need to say a word to dominate the room. That's what we're building here. This video isn't just for the heartbroken. It's for the reborn. It's for the man tired of being soft for someone who went cold. It's for the man who's done playing emotional roulette. I'm going to give you 10 rules, 10 shifts, 10 codes to live by when she walks away, when you get ghosted, when you're betrayed. Each one will hit. Each one will tighten your armor. Each one will push you closer to becoming the man she'll regret leaving, but you'll no longer care. If you've had enough of explaining yourself to someone who already stopped listening, if you're ready to speak with your silence and reclaim your fire, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. Silence is my power. Number 1, she doesn't deserve your words. Let me say this with no sugarcoat, no softness. If she walked away, disrespected you, betrayed your trust, or replaced you like you were nothing, then she has lost the right to hear your voice. Read that again. Every word you send her now, that's a gift, and you're giving it to someone who already decided you weren't worth keeping. Most men don't get this. They think if they just explain themselves better, if they just send one more heartfelt message, one more late-night paragraph, then maybe she'll come back. But that's not love, that's emotional gambling, and the house always wins. The brutal truth? She's not sitting there confused. She's not waiting for you to explain. She knows exactly what she did, and she's already justified it in her head. Every time you reach out to clarify, to find closure, to just talk, you're not repairing anything. You're reinforcing her decision. You're telling her, you were right to walk away. I'm still chasing you. And once you do that, you kill all attraction. Because a man who explains himself after rejection looks like he needs saving. And no woman is drawn to a man who looks like he's drowning in his own emotion. But a man who falls silent, who vanishes, who doesn't defend, doesn't argue, doesn't plead, he becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability triggers curiosity. That silence becomes a question she can't answer. And that question will haunt her more than any speech ever could. She'll check her phone, wonder why you haven't reached out. She'll scroll your socials, try to read between the lines. She'll start to realize the control she thought she had. It's gone, because silence doesn't beg, it doesn't explain, it elevates. And when you hold your tongue, when you resist the urge to set the record straight, you rise. You show her you don't need to be understood by someone who chose to misunderstand you. This is the first step to becoming unshakable. You stop explaining. You let your absence be the only message, because silence, true, deliberate silence, is the boundary that says, you don't get to hurt me twice. Number 2, emotions are leverage. Stop giving her yours. When you react, you hand her the remote control to your nervous system. Every angry text, every emotional outburst, every "why did you do this to me?" is leverage. And the worst part, you're the one giving it away. Heartbreak makes most men act out of desperation. They want answers, they want closure, they want to be heard. But here's the truth. You're not talking to her anymore, you're talking to your own pain, and she can see it. Every time you reach out in emotion, she knows you're still under her spell. That's not strength, that's submission, that's self-betrayal in real time. You think she's going to change her mind because she sees how much you're hurting? Nope. You think she'll come back because you showed her the depths of your love? Nope. That pain you're broadcasting? It doesn't make her feel guilty. It makes her feel powerful. It validates her decision. It gives her emotional dominance. And once she has that, she doesn't have to respect you because she knows she owns you. Stoicism doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you don't show everything. It means you feel the chaos, the rage, the heartbreak, but you don't let it spill into the world. You contain it. You sit with it like a warrior sits with his wounds. Quiet, composed, watching, waiting. Because the moment you master your emotions, you become untouchable. You stop handing out emotional access like candy. You stop bleeding for someone who's already gone. And instead, you build armor from the same pain that almost broke you. Understand this. Your emotions are sacred. They are not for public consumption, especially not for the person who triggered them. Let her wonder how you feel. Let her spiral in silence. Because the most terrifying man is the one who feels deeply and shows nothing. Number 3. Silence is mystery. Mystery is power. Here's what most men never realize. When you go quiet, you don't disappear. You become a question, a mystery, and mystery is magnetic. When she knows everything you're thinking, when you're spilling your pain, your hopes, your regrets in her DMs, there's nothing left for her to be curious about. She knows you want her back. She knows you're hurting. She knows you're checking her stories and overanalyzing every post. There's no intrigue, no depth, just exposure. And exposure kills attraction. But silence flips the script. Suddenly she doesn't know where you stand. She starts wondering if you moved on, if someone else is in your life, if you ever cared at all. Your absence forces her to fill in the blanks, and her imagination will always paint pictures louder than your words ever could. She'll go back and reread old messages. She'll analyze the last thing you said. She'll start asking questions, but this time they'll be about you. See, in the world of dark psychology, uncertainty is power. When someone doesn't know what you're thinking, they can't control you. They can't predict you, and when they can't predict you, they become obsessed with understanding you. That's the power of the unknown, and that's why silence is a weapon. Used properly, it makes you more than a memory. It makes you a riddle, a question she didn't expect to ask again. You don't need to post cryptic stories. You don't need to pretend you're happy. You just need to stop feeding her information, because the less she knows, the more she feels. And when she's left to sit in that mystery, that's when the regret sets in. Number 4, the comeback is not about her. Let's get something straight right now. Your comeback, your glow-up, your rise, your transformation is not about her. It's not about making her regret. It's not about showing her what she lost. That mindset, that's still rooted in weakness. Because if everything you're doing is for her reaction, then she still controls your story. And that means you haven't broken free. You've just switched tactics. Here's the shift. Stop building yourself to be seen. Build yourself to be undeniable. Not to prove a point, but because you refuse to live as the man who got walked over. You upgrade not to impress, but to bury the version of you that tolerated less than you deserved. You become stronger, calmer, colder, not to get her attention, but because the man you used to be wouldn't survive what's coming next. And here's what's wild. The second you stop trying to impress her is the moment she starts to notice. Because real growth doesn't beg to be noticed. It becomes impossible to ignore. She'll feel the distance, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. She'll feel that you're no longer orbiting her world. And when she senses that detachment, that's when the weight of her decision starts to hit. But by then, you won't care, because your mission will be bigger than her memory. Your path will be so clear, Her face will blur in the rear view. And if she comes back, that'll be her burden, not your reward. Because the man who rises in silence, who rebuilds from ground zero without looking back, that man doesn't chase. He chooses. Number 5. Detachment is the ultimate attraction. Neediness repels. Desperation suffocates. Cling to someone emotionally, and they will sprint in the opposite direction. That's just human nature. People crave freedom, and when your energy screams, "I need you to feel whole," they feel trapped. But detachment, that's different. Detachment radiates calm, confidence, power. It says, "I want you, but I don't need you." And that energy, that's what draws people in. Not because you're playing games, but because you've finally remembered your worth. Here's what detachment really is. It's knowing that your peace isn't up for negotiation. It's the refusal to be emotionally held hostage by someone else's decisions. Detachment doesn't mean cold-hearted. It means clear-minded. It means you've accepted the truth. You can't force someone to care, and you shouldn't want to. Love, loyalty, respect, those aren't things you extract. They're things you attract by who you become. When she realizes you've disconnected emotionally, when she sees she no longer has pull over you, that's when everything shifts. She'll test it. She'll bait you. She might reach out just to see if she still matters. But when you don't flinch, when you respond like a man who's healed, not hoping, she'll feel the change, and suddenly the power dynamic flips. She went from being chased to watching you walk. Here's the irony. The moment you stop trying to get her back is the exact moment you become the man she starts to want again. Because nothing is more attractive than someone who's fully in control of their emotional state. That's what Stoicism teaches. Don't suppress your feelings. Own them, master them, and never let someone else's presence or absence dictate your self-worth. Number 6. Control the narrative without saying a word. You don't need to argue your side. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to jump into her DMs, her comments, or her life to correct the story. Let her say what she wants. Let her think what she wants. Because the moment you try to set the record straight, you give her power all over again. But when you stay silent, when you move in complete stillness, you hijack the narrative without even opening your mouth. Here's how it works. People hate uncertainty. When you don't speak, they start guessing. And when they guess, they usually assume the worst. She'll start to wonder, is he mad? Is he done? Did he find someone else? Why isn't he fighting for me? That doubt, that storm of questions, that's the consequence of your silence. You're not correcting her version, you're letting it unravel on its own. And that's far more powerful than trying to control how she sees you. Because let's be real, if someone walked away, disrespected you, or let you go without a second thought, why are you still trying to clear the air? She already made up her mind. Your job now is not to convince her otherwise, it's to vanish from her world so completely that she starts questioning her own judgment. And when she doesn't hear from you, when there's no closure, no message, no emotional breakdown, she fills in the blanks, and her own mind becomes the punishment. This is how the Stoic man wins. He controls his own reality, not hers. He doesn't care what they say about him because he knows who he is. His silence is not submission, it's dominance. And the story people tell about him, that's on them. He lives above it. Number 7. Don't fix the image she has of you. You want to know one of the most dangerous traps after heartbreak? Trying to fix how she sees you, trying to rewrite the version of you that lives in her head. Maybe she thinks you were too emotional, too weak, too needy, and now you feel this itch to prove her wrong, to show her you've changed, to make her respect you again. But here's the truth. The more you try to fix that image, the more you stay trapped in her frame. And a man stuck in someone else's frame has already lost. You don't need to fix what she thinks. You need to fix what you accepted. Because somewhere along the way, you let her perception define you. You let her reaction shape your value. But what if you stopped needing her to see you differently? What if her opinion simply didn't matter anymore? That's the Stoic way. That's the high ground mentality. Let her keep the version of you that served her narrative. Let her tell her friends whatever helps her sleep. You don't need to correct her, you need to outgrow her. Every moment you spend explaining is a moment you delay your evolution, because the real glow-up isn't in being seen differently. It's in not caring who's watching. Let her misunderstand you. Let her think you're cold. Let her believe you didn't care. You don't need to fix her memory. You need to rebuild your reality. One where your identity is yours again. One where your self-respect is louder than your need to be understood. Understand this. Chasing clarity from someone who broke you will only keep you broken. You don't need to be remembered as the good guy. You need to be forgotten by the boy you used to be. And if she ever sees the real you again, it won't be because you explained yourself. It'll be because you became undeniable. Number 8. The high-value man doesn't chase. He replaces. There's a moment every man hits after heartbreak. A moment where you either keep chasing or you evolve. And here's the thing. Chasing is rooted in fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough. Fear that she was your only shot. That energy, it leaks desperation. It says, "You're above me and I need you to feel whole." But the high-value man doesn't move like that. He doesn't beg. He doesn't plead. He doesn't chase. He replaces. Not just her, he replaces the version of himself that allowed her to take him for granted. He upgrades his mind, his circle, his body, his grind. He becomes the man that the old him would look up to. He doesn't post it. He doesn't flex it. He lives it. Because real value doesn't need to be broadcast. It speaks through presence, not performance. Here's the hard truth. If she could walk away, she wasn't for you. And that's not a loss. It's intel. Now you know what kind of energy not to tolerate. Now you know what red flags to never ignore again. She thought she was irreplaceable because she got used to a version of you that believed she was. But when you finally reclaim your power, when you stand on self-respect and not emotional dependency, she'll feel it. In the silence, in your absence, in the way you don't even look back. And if you ever cross paths again, it won't be you hoping to get her back. It'll be her trying to figure out how she lost you. But by then, the version of you she knew will be gone. And the one standing in front of her, he won't chase. He'll choose or walk. Number 9, master the art of the unsent message. You've written it 100 times. That message. That paragraph you crafted at 2 a.m. when your chest was tight and your mind was spinning. You told yourself, this is the one. This will make her understand. This will get through. But deep down, you know the truth. That message isn't for her. It's for the part of you that still doesn't want to let go. And that's why you have to master one of the most underrated arts of emotional discipline, the unsent message. Write it if you have to. Bleed it out on the screen. Let the pain pour, but never send it, because sending it resets the wound. It reattaches the cord. It says, I still need your response to feel okay. And that's a weakness the Stoic man refuses to entertain. Every time you resist hitting send, you grow stronger. Every time you choose silence over a last word attempt, you reinforce your control. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about channeling it. There is power in restraint. There is growth in silence. And there is peace in knowing that just because a feeling exists doesn't mean it needs to be shared. Most men bleed their pain into the inbox of the person who broke them. But the high-value man turns that pain inward and uses it to build, not text. Building, not confess. Advance. Because no message will make her feel what you wanted her to feel. But your silence, that stays with her. That silence echoes louder than your apology, your confession, your explanation ever could. You don't owe her closure. You don't owe her your heart typed out in desperation. You owe yourself discipline. You owe yourself your dignity. Let the message sit in your notes, unsent. Let her wonder what you wanted to say. That mystery is worth more than your words. Number 10. Be so cold, she feels it in her soul. There comes a point where you stop pretending to be okay. Not the fake, smiling through it version. The real okay. The cold okay. The kind where her name doesn't sting. Her face doesn't shake you. Her silence doesn't mean a damn thing. That's when you know you've crossed over. That's when your detachment becomes real. And the colder you move, the deeper it cuts. Not because you're trying to hurt her, but because you finally realized her access was a privilege. See, most men turn cold out of pain. But the Stoic man, he turns cold out of clarity. He sees the situation for what it is. No sugar, no fantasy, no illusions. He doesn't need revenge. He doesn't need closure. He doesn't even need her to regret. Because his power comes from the fact that he feels nothing, not numb, just clean, detached, free. And here's what will haunt her. Not the fact that you're mad, not the fact that you're hurt, but that you don't care. Indifference is louder than rage. It's more cutting than tears. When she realizes that the man who once adored her now greets her presence with silence, with calm, with absolute neutrality, that's when it hits her. You didn't move on to make her jealous. You outgrew her access completely. Cold doesn't mean bitter. It means controlled. You walk past her and she can feel the distance. You don't text. You don't watch her stories. You don't flinch. And the silence, it burns hotter than any screaming match ever could. Because she'll wonder if you ever really cared, or if she just lost the one man who actually did. And now she'll never get that version of you again. You made it to the end, and if you're still here, you're not like most men. Most get stuck in the cycle, explaining, chasing, hoping, bleeding out their value for someone who already closed the door. But not you. You came here for something different. You came to reclaim your edge, to stop being predictable, to stop being emotionally available to people who treat your presence like an option. Every section you just heard isn't just advice. It's a code, a way of living, a way of becoming. The kind of man who doesn't beg, who doesn't justify, who doesn't flinch when he's tested. A man who understands that silence is a strategy, not a retreat. That Stoicism isn't emotionless, it's emotional control. She might have broken your heart, but you get to decide what happens next. Do you break down, or do you break through? Do you keep trying to prove something to her? Or do you disappear so deep into your discipline that the only thing she can do is wonder? Because when a man walks in silence, he becomes unforgettable. Not because he tried to be, but because he moved in a way most men never do, with dignity, with purpose, with restraint. That's power. So this is your choice now. Stay loud and stay lost, or go silent and level up. The Stoic rule is simple. Never explain yourself. Let silence speak, because it always speaks louder. If you're ready to walk the path of power, to lead with stillness, to speak less and become more, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop it in the comments one last time. I speak with silence. I move with purpose. Thank you for watching Stoic Blessing, where silence is strength, discipline is power, and detachment is divine. I'll see you in the next one. Stay cold, stay calm, stay untouchable.